All right, so welcome to my pregnancy video log. It's been way too many weeks. I was aiming to do every like 4 to 6 weeks for this log, and I think I'm now at like a solid 10 to 12 weeks since the last video I did. So obviously my body has definitely changed, along with a few other things. I think the last video I made is somewhere around 18 weeks. So it's just been a weird year to be pregnant. I think I can't really make a video log without talking a little bit about that. With everything going on with coronavirus and race relations, it's been somewhat stressful the last several weeks. I've definitely gotten stuck in a few rabbit holes. Several nights, researching different things related to racial injustice or COVID-19. And so I've been meaning to make a video for several weeks. I did actually, I'm not fasting from social media right now, but I did take Facebook off my phone last Sunday night. So it's actually been, today's a Monday, it's actually been over a week since I've had Facebook off my phone, and it was an awesome idea. I'm still going on maybe once a day, either from my iPad or sometimes I'll go on from my computer if I'm on my computer, which most days I might get on once a day, which has been much better for my stress and anxiety as a interracial family. Race relations was becoming very stressful, and watching lots of posting going on through social media was not helping my anxiety. So I could tell it just was not very healthy for me. So it took me several weeks to actually take it off my phone, but I'm so glad I did. I don't even miss it. I get on, check messages, I might scroll a little bit through newsfeed. Usually I find something that already bugs me, and I'm like, let me just get off. So it's a little bit challenging since I do use social media for my online business. But since I don't overly promote my online business, it's not the worst thing in the world for me. I try not to be on my phone all the time anyway, especially with 2 little ones. I do try to avoid sitting on my phone with my kids, since I'm with my kids every day, all day. Which, speaking of my kids, it's definitely been more challenging for my kids, I think, for the last 12 weeks. Let's see, the last video I made, I was around like 16 or 18 weeks. We'd been in quarantine for about maybe 4 weeks, 5 when I made the video. And they were doing okay at that point, but it started going downhill, I think, after that, for at least my older son. The reality of people being sick, not being able to go anywhere, really started to play into his emotions. Even just a couple nights ago, he was started crying because he's afraid that Lifetime's going to close, or that places are going to close down, or he's not going to be able to go to soccer anymore. We even started soccer a few weeks ago. He's been going to speech therapy for maybe 5 or 6 weeks now. And we returned to Lifetime like 5 weeks ago. I am working out at Lifetime since about week 24. I'm now at week 30. Lightly, I usually stay more in isolated areas, but last week I did return to teaching a couple classes, which surprisingly I was sore, but not as nearly as sore as I could have been had I. Good thing I kept up with all my workouts. But he's super sensitive to what's going on. And so that's been a challenge to deal with. Most days he has some kind of moment where you could tell that his brain's going different places. And Oki definitely can now tell that baby is now getting closer to coming. We changed his room, which is now baby Lulu's room. And so today he wanted to go take a nap in baby room, even though he didn't actually nap, but and he's been extremely clingy. Definitely wants mommy a lot more. Isaiah tends to be my clinger more so than Oki, but Oki's been especially emotional. It's been affecting his eating, it seems like. So we've been dealing with a lot of family kid stuff the last several weeks, which has also made it more challenging to keep up with making videos like this at night. I've been falling asleep a little bit earlier lately. I definitely have had an insomnia quite a bit this pregnancy. I think it was more related, not necessarily to pregnancy itself, but more with everything that's going on with the world. I actually have slept better the last week since taking off Facebook off my phone than I have probably slept since COVID started. I'm able to go to bed earlier, and I think be able to turn off my brain sooner, which could be coincidence, but definitely probably related. And so we definitely did start going out more because of the boys. We did go to South Padre the week before Memorial Weekend, stayed at a hotel for a few nights. You know, we didn't go anywhere besides the beach and the pool. The restaurant was definitely not busy, a couple tables at a time, or we took it to go, ate in the room. So we definitely socially distanced ourselves quite a bit, or the whole time really. But that was really our segue into going back into society, if you will. And then that's from there we kind of returned back to going to the gym a little bit. Mainly we've been spending most of our time at the pool at Lifetime. So for the most part, that's our social time, which is outdoors. We feel comfortable. I feel comfortable at least with the kids. They have been going to the child care center at Lifetime, which they have been you know, separating the kids, doing a good job of keeping everything clean, so I feel comfortable, and I'm not terribly worried. I'm not sure if I talked about this in one of my other videos, but I would like to get the antibody test. I'm still not 100% sure. I still feel, like, let me say it this way, I'm about 50% sure that I already had COVID around March 3rd, 4th. If it wasn't COVID, it was something very, very similar. I had an upper respiratory infection, went to the doctor. Because I did not have a fever or high fever, I think I was only at like 99 maybe, like max. The day before I went in, he was like, I'm not gonna test you because your lungs seemed clear when he listened, and I didn't have a fever, but I couldn't breathe. I felt like I was having asthma attacks, which I have exercise-induced asthma, but that was diagnosed when I was like 6. So I have not been updated in years. So I don't really claim that I have asthma anymore, for the most part. And I also had loss of appetite, loss of taste. I don't remember if I had diarrhea. Would be TMI if I did. I don't remember having that. I had extreme fatigue and body aches. So all of those things we now know are like way up there on the scale for COVID. But I have not done the antibody test. I believe they're going to test me for corona because I will be doing a C-section at the hospital in a few weeks. I don't know if I'll have to do the antibody test or not, but maybe at that point I'll opt to do it to know if I had it or not. So picking up, I guess, kind of where I left off in the last video. So I'm going to pick up around 20 weeks because nothing really changed, I don't think, drastically until about 20 weeks. And at that point, my heart rate changes started happening again. Previously, in the previous weeks, more like 170, 175 was like my new max norm. And pretty much since week 20, about 160 to 165 has become like my anaerobic threshold, if you will. It's kind of where my body just, it was like, if you don't slow down now, we're going to have issues. It's the easiest way to explain it. And for the most part, even like what would have been considered like low intensity workout to me now, or low intensity workout before is now feeling more like moderate. Feels like my heart rate's more in the fat burning zone, or it is since I'm watching it. So for instance, like walking the treadmill. Right now, walking in general is becoming challenging, just because I'm so large and it feels uncomfortable, and I'm more waddling than walking. And so at 3.2, that feels fast, and I'm already in like heart rate fat burning zone, which is like 130, 135. So even pedaling and biking at a moderate pace, low intensity for me. My heart rate's staying in the fat burning zone. Speaking of bike, I did buy a bike, which it took 8 weeks to get here. I just got it last week and I ordered it May 6th, which was like around week 20, and I got it at like week 30. I knew I was gonna need it just because I knew I wasn't gonna feel comfortable going back into the cycle studio to teach and or really to take class due to what's going on. And I also knew I'd want it for postpartum recovery for my C-section. So I knew I'd use it no matter what. So it was more a long-term investment as well, even though I knew I wouldn't have it for like the time that the gyms were actually closed anymore. But speaking of cycling, major changes happened for cycling. Obviously, I did not cycle because I didn't have a bike all of COVID, which was, we were quarantined, which was almost 12 weeks. We closed Lifetime on March 18th, I believe, and they opened back up on May 18th, which I believe was actually about 10 weeks. But I didn't go back to the gym at all until like 2 weeks after that. And so around week 12, I finally got back on a bike. Night and day. I was still putting out a decent amount of power when I left at week 13, 14. Pretty close to my normal. The only thing I was feeling was changes in my heart rate, but my power output, my strength, all that pretty much had been the same. I'm now like, my wattage feels like I'm starting to work at like 30 watts, like ridiculously low. Now obviously I lost a lot of power just from not cycling for 12 weeks, but definitely most of it is related to pregnancy. Just, blood getting to my legs, pregnant wise. And also like I tell people all the time, like once you stop something in pregnancy, it's really hard to pick it back up or return to your previous intensity of what you were doing. I'm sure if I had cycled through those 12 weeks, my body probably would have adjusted week by week, and my wattage would have dropped, my ability to keep up intensity wise would have dropped, but I don't think it would have dropped as significantly as it has. Right now, like if I'm really, really trying to push on the bike, like 150 is like my max wattage. That's like my average. My average watts is probably like 130 in a class, just from recoveries and work, whatever. But like my max power output is like 350. Like I hit that several times in a class. I can't even get anywhere near that. I'm like half that. But it still feels like a good workout, and it's still a low impact workout, so it's still worth it for me. So I'm still getting on the bike now that I've returned to Lifetime, and then I also finally got on my bike tonight for 20 minutes. Doing that like twice a week now instead, whereas around week 22, 23, I started taking out an intense workout and replaced it with a walk. So at like 20 weeks, I was still doing a good 5 intense workouts a week. And then sometimes I would rest 2 days, or I'd walk one of those days. And then around somewhere between week 22, 25, I pretty much pulled back to like 4 intense workouts and then would walk 1 or 2 days. But then the last few weeks, maybe since like week 27 or so, walking just started getting really uncomfortable because my stomach started growing and I'm waddling so much. It's also getting super hot outside in Texas in late June, July. So even walking at nighttime, like I bike tonight at 8:30 and it was still like 90, 95 degrees in the garage. So it's just getting also too hot. And so cramping starts to happen, with walking outside or outside. So I'm really pulling back on the walking and trying to replace the walk with a bike. So still aiming for about 5 workouts a week. But the intensity has pulled back a little bit on those. Most weeks I am still isolating some muscle groups, so I still might do a leg day. It just doesn't look quite like it did prior to week like 20 or before. You know, the weight's less. It's definitely very circuit based. Not as many supersets, not really as heavy weight, a lot of body weight stuff, booty band work. So things that are just less resistance, because my legs just wear out a lot faster. Still doing like 1 or 2 upper body lifts a week. Last week, since I taught and I did a lot of total body workouts, I didn't isolate very much at all. So, you know, that I'm teaching a little bit, it might change a little bit here and there. But I'm still able to isolate. It's just the workouts are very circuit based and a lot more body weight. Definitely doing a lot of like metabolic circuits or like giant sets of like 4 exercises where maybe they're total body, you know, giant sets, upper, lower, 2 cardio moves, something like that. One of the things too, 2 weeks ago, I did a glucose test, fine on the glucose, but I did have low iron, which is not the first time I've had low iron. Although it is the first time I think in pregnancy I have. I wasn't paying very much attention, thanks to 3rd pregnancy, to my prenatal, which did not have iron. And I was I've had pretty bad fatigue this whole pregnancy, really, which I did chalk up to mostly to just not sleeping well. But I will say, since starting a new prenatal last week with like 165% iron, daily recommendation for iron, my fatigue has drastically dropped. My energy level has gone way up. Could be total coincidence, but probably not. So iron is super important because it does carry oxygen throughout your body, and it will affect your energy level if it is low. So really glad for that glucose blood test to find that, because I don't think I was really just paying attention. I also have not been eating nearly as much meat this pregnancy as I normally have in at least my previous pregnancies. Not craving it. Food-wise, kind of bland foods. Not really, don't have a huge appetite. A lot of oatmeal for breakfast, maybe Kodak pancakes, peanut butter or toast with peanut butter and bananas. Definitely been eating chilies. So that's been mainly the meat, and like nachos is probably like actually the worst food besides like Ritz crackers and cheese. Craving that for several weeks now. But I mainly am eating a lot of fruit. I want a lot of fruit. I don't have a strong sweet tooth for pastries and stuff, but I do want fruit. So I'm eating a lot of mangoes, lots of apples, berries. Right now, super hooked on the cherries that are like yellow. They're not the red ones. They're like yellowish, pink, red. Rainier? I don't know how to say it. They're the ones that are in season right now. They're super sweet. I'm still drinking caffeine, but mostly just in the morning for the most part. Once in a while I am having it at nighttime, which does tend to keep me up though. But I'm probably still only around 200, 250 max milligrams of caffeine a day, which for me is not a lot. I'd say the worst part is really just walking upstairs. I'd rather do 10 burpees than walk up a flight of steps right now. Every time I get to the top of my steps, I have to like pause. It's way more work than anything else. I definitely gained a solid 26 pounds at least by now. I don't think I had made a video before this happened, but I think around like week 20, which I don't think I made a video since finding out it was a girl. Surprise. It's a girl. I don't think I knew that last video. around week 20, my doctor just was like, "You've gained a lot of weight," which I have, or I had by then, and I definitely have by now. But I also was starting at a very low body weight and fat percentage, so I'm not really concerned with the fact that I've gained 26 pounds at all. I'm pretty much in normal range of what I've gained in my last pregnancy, and I'm probably about 5 pounds behind what I gained in my first pregnancy, if not more. So I feel fine about that. I do track my measurements a little bit in pregnancy. Usually I take them like 1 or 2 times throughout pregnancy, maybe the halfway point, and then maybe a couple times past that. So far I've definitely gained like 4 to 5 inches in my hips, maybe 1.5 inches in the legs. And I always just love to track my waist, because I find it so crazy how much our stomach stretches. At this point, I've gained like 14 inches around my waist. Could be more now. I took that measurement like a week or 2 ago, which I think is really interesting. I'm at about a 40-inch waist right now, maybe 41, which if you like think about it in terms of like man waist sizes, like a 40-inch waist is a pretty big guy. So imagine carrying around a 40-inch waist all of a sudden in 30 weeks. If you put it in perspective like that, it's kind of crazy how our body can adjust, but also it explains why I'm completely out of breath going up the steps. When I'm easing into workouts, so that's also something too that, I don't know that a lot of people think about, but when you ease into a workout and you get warmed up, your heart rate levels off, and it's able to pick up and keep up. The reason that like going up a flight of steps is so much harder is because it's a drastic heart rate change, right? You're going maybe even from sitting down to all of a sudden you're going up steps. Your heart rate's jumping, and that jump also makes it more tiring. And the blood rushing to different parts of your body as you become more active all of a sudden, especially in the lower body. It makes things more challenging. So yeah, I just think it's interesting how much our waist stretches. One of the things that I do, and I don't really know that it could just be coincidental, but one of the things that I've done every pregnancy is I use coconut oil in the shower. One, because I'm definitely always more dry pregnant. I'm a very oily person, but I'm more dry pregnant. My face is more dry, which is why I think my skin clears up, because I'm not oily. But also, I use coconut oil for my stomach to hopefully not get stretch marks. I do have stretch marks, more actually from Ogi than from... I take that back. I got initial stretch marks, small ones around my belly button with Isaiah, and then they got a little bit more intensified with Ogi. But other than that, knock on wood, I've been able to not really have much stretch marks. Although my mother doesn't really have stretch marks from pregnancy, and it could be a genetic thing, so it might not be the coconut oil. But I use it religiously every shower. A couple things too, just along the lines of, working out. I definitely have been working out more for just movement at this point. Definitely don't ever want to be, the objective is never really to be sore, which I've done a pretty good job of the last several weeks. I'm not really too sore. I get tight. My legs might be a little sore, but at this point it's more for movement, keep my weight in check, keep my cardiovascular conditioning as good as I can throughout pregnancy has become mostly the focus. So that's, yeah. Workout wise, I think that's the majority of it, which took 25 minutes. So I'm going to try to keep up with this. At least make a few more videos of any changes that happen. As of right now, because this was already a weird year, 2020 is a weird year, As of right now, my scheduled C-section is for 9/11. Definitely not optimal. I really actually wanted it on my husband's birthday, which is 9/7, which it would have been, but it's Labor Day. And then my doctor is on vacation throughout the week. So as of right now, it's on 9/11, which brings me actually to like 39 and a half weeks. I have an appointment tomorrow, so we'll see when I talk to her if that could potentially change. I don't think they're going to bring me in before 39 weeks. Because I just don't think they scheduled before 39. But I am a little bit afraid of going into labor prior to 39 and a half weeks, even though I don't have a track record for it. But also, I'm just not a big fan of that date. But if that's what it is, it is. You know, me and my friend definitely made a good point that it's, you know, our generation associates that date with something, but our kids' generation probably won't at all. But still feels weird to tell people that that's the date of your C-section or that's going to be your kid's birthday. Still feels weird. So that's definitely been a weird thing that happened the last week. So yeah, I think that's about it. I'm going to continue to teach two-ish to three-ish classes a week. Masking throughout the building. I only take the mask off to teach, or if I'm in an isolated area in the gym, work out by myself. So I feel okay right now. I may change my mind. One thing that I am going to find out about tomorrow is if the hospital that I'm delivering at, if they are separating the child from mothers who test positive for COVID. They are doing it in some of the San Antonio hospitals, I have found out. So if that is the case, I'm probably going to have to self-quarantine myself for a good 3 to 4 weeks before baby comes. So that could change things later into pregnancy. So yeah, all right, that's it. All 30 minutes.